Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Film Points Podcast. Today's going to be a very special episode and something that I feel that every filmmaker or anybody that's beginning into their filmmaking journey should really focus on because I feel that it's a real fundamental and kind of essential to what we really need to like figure out and need to focus on in the journey of becoming a filmmaker, or if you're already one. You always come back to this necessary trait, I guess you can say. So, and just to talk about our previous episodes that we did before, our last episode, it was actually really special, really interesting. Something that we dove into about location scouting and how that can really affect the mood or the tone of your film or your short film or your feature film or whatever you're going into, wherever you want to make a commercial. All those things really play into factor into what you really want to do, and I feel like that episode really helps anybody that wants to go into that situation as well. And so to begin with, also what we have to talk about is our Instagram is also, we're at Film Points Podcast on Instagram. A lot of people have been supporting us over there, giving us good feedback. We post like little clips from the show, and if you guys want to check that out, that would also be greatly appreciated. If you want to follow us there, give us any advice or anybody you would like to see on the podcast, that would also be great as well. So we have that, our Instagram. We also have our production page, which is Film Points Official on Instagram as well. We just post any projects that we have upcoming, anything that we're doing over there. So you guys can follow that as well. You can follow me also at Timothy.Montes on Instagram. And that's just my personal page. So anything you want to, if you want to DM me over there about the podcast or whatever, filmmaking tips, advice, that would also be great as well. So to get that out of the way, we're going to dive into our topic, which is the art of storytelling. That's what I came up with. Because I feel that in order to have a good film, have a good short film or any little project that you're really working on, you have to have a good story, a good something that people can follow and something that people can understand, but also knowing as well who's your audience and who can really get from you can get from the backstory of what you're trying to tell everyone or tell in your film or in your story. So I just wanted to go over like kind of little points in between that topic, which is storytelling, and maybe talk about a couple of different directors that have great form of storytelling. But to begin, our first little, I guess, topic you can say, I'm going to begin off with structure. And one of the most important elements of great storytelling is how the story is told. Making choices about timing events can hide the impact and leave your audience reeling. So, structure. A lot of times, like when directors, I guess, or young filmmakers that really come into play, they really don't uh, feature that, put that into like, because how I see it, that's like one of the base, like I say, that's one of your foundations is the structure, because you have to know, like, okay, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end. You have to know, and also pacing as well, but that's another topic, we'll talk about that later. But the structure is like what is like the kind of, if you want to think about it, kind of like the skeleton of your whole film, your whole the backstory. I mean, the whole, just everything together as like, just everything together as one. So nothing, like no details, or just like the basic fundamental thing. So that's something that you have to think about and be like, okay, this is how I'm gonna start out. This is how the plot's gonna be, and then this is how it's gonna end. So that's something to also focus on, because you have to know what's going on in that type of situation. You have to know what, okay, my characters are going to be doing this in the beginning, my characters are going to be doing that in the middle, and my character is going to do this at the end. So you have to know, also being from a director standpoint, you have to know and figure out, okay, I'm going to direct my actors in this way at this certain point because I want this type of mood to be felt. Or in the middle, okay, well, I want this different mood to be felt and I want them to do this. At the ending, I want this different type of tone from them. That's something that you have to direct, no pun intended, but direct to your actors and tell them like, hey, because sometimes, uh, really, like different directors have different teachings, different ways they want to direct. So some directors they will go off and they'll say, okay, do what you. They will tell the actor, be like, hey, do what you want to do. Do whatever comes to you. Do whatever you feel is right. And some directors like, no, I want it this way, and make sure you do it this way. And then some directors are like in the middle. So you have to figure out what works for you without being like too much of a jerk, really. But I mean, if you're the director, that's kind of like your position is to be a jerk, really, because you're kind of like bossing people around a little bit. But you don't go crazy with power or anything like that. But it's just like that's just the name of the game, I guess you can say. That's just like how it is because you're the director. You're supposed to direct people. You're supposed to direct your actors. You're supposed to direct your audio personnel. You're supposed to direct your crew. Like, hey, I want y'all over here. I want y'all to do this. I want you to do that. That's just that's just how it is. And something. And if you're not ready to be a director, which I would say 9 times out of 10 people are not ready to be a director because that pressure to be put on your shoulders is like really heavy because you're in charge of so many people at one time, and it's hard and it could be difficult because you have to think, okay, what's going on over here, something's going on over here, I have to worry about these people are doing this. It's just a lot to worry about. So I say if directing, if that's something that you want to do, I say go first into being a crew member, trying to you see because you see things from the the outside in. How I see it, you see stuff from the outside in, because many times when everybody's in their role already or everybody's focused on what they want to do, they're already too focused, too locked in to see stuff from the outside. So they're kind of like going in on their own opinions and on their own ways, I guess. Um, because they're so used to getting in that same way and that same feeling that they're not open to people coming in and telling them like, hey, maybe you should try this. And like, especially directors are going to stick to what they know and like how they want to do it. That's just how it is. They rarely do they take advice from other people coming in and they say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Because they already have a vision on what they want to have be done in the film. So, and that's where that storytelling comes into play. Because you also have writers as well. You can have writers like people with bigger budget films, like all these feature films that you see nowadays. You play at the theaters, they have writers. They have a group of team of writers, probably 20, 25 people, writers, and they're just writing all day, all day, all day, all night. And when you're young and you don't have that much money and you're just beginning, you're really the only writer that you have. You may get some if you have some friends that are in the industry or some people that are in the same career path, you may also begin to ask them, like, get advice from them as well. But most of the time, it's really like you by yourself. And that's kind of good because you get to go through that work, you get to go through that struggle, I guess you can say, and know what it's like to sit down and be like, okay, I got to figure out what how this character is going to act, how I want this character to act, how I want the audience to portray this character, or how I want the audience to feel about this character. And that's stuff that people really they don't think about at the time when they're just starting out, or people that don't understand like writing and storytelling, they don't really understand that. So there it's not just okay, I'm just gonna sit down and write and then whatever, and then that's how it's gonna be. It's you have to think about it not just from your own perspective, but from the perspective of the audience. Because that's who's gonna watch your film. That's who's gonna watch your story. And it may make sense to you because you wrote it, but it may not make sense to them because, again, everybody thinks differently. Everybody has their own opinion. So they may take something uh, like that you created or that you put on screen in a different way than how you meant it to look. So you have to think not just from your own perspectives, you have to think from the perspective of others. It'd be like, okay, how are people going to take this if I write it this way? How people are going to react if I, make this character do this? That's something that you have to constantly think about, especially in writing and in storytelling. That's just, it's really, it's a special skill that people have. Not everybody can be a writer. I'm sorry, but not everybody can and I'm not saying I'm a perfect writer because I'm not. I work on it every day. I try to get better, but there's there's people that just have that natural born ability of like that can tell a great story, and then they can tell everything, and then you as the audience member will be able to get it. Sometimes in reality you kind of have to dumb it down a little bit. Like it starts to be harsh, but it's like you kind of have to like put it to like where the people can understand. And that's just how it is, because if people don't understand what you're trying to figure out, they're just going to zone out, and that's it. Like they're not going to pay attention anymore. They're just going to be like, okay, I don't get this, and then they'll probably either turn it off or just like sit through your movie and just like, okay, well, I don't get this. So, and that's that's also comes into the factor of like people, have their own opinions. People can say whatever they want about you and your story and your film or whatever, but also too, if you know that you did to the best of your ability, try to make sure that your story is told like the right way and making sure that other people can understand it and not just yourself, then I feel that people can really they'll understand that, and they'll be able to get your message throughout. So that's also another key subtopic, is to understand your message that you want to put out. What is the message that you're trying to send to your audience? What's the message you're trying to send, to the world? If you're going to put this out there, what are you trying to tell people about, whatever you want to tell about? So there's also the use of film language, and that's for instance, your dialogue in your film. How do you want your characters to speak to each other? How do you want your characters to interact with your other characters? How do you want your actors to interact with people uh, you know, that are also in the film as well? That's something that we have to think about, and that's something I have to think about, because if I don't, and you just come from the perspective of yourself, it's hard, because and that's how I took it when I first started writing. I took it from the perspective of myself, and I was like, okay, well, this is something that I would say. You have to put yourself, you kind of have to like go to this place. You have to go to this place, and it's like you go, and then you have to visualize your own character that you created, because essentially that is what you did. You created a character or characters in your film, in your story, and you have to see how would they react in this like situation. How would they react if this happened to them? How would they speak, or how would they talk to another person if, let's just say, they got into a fight? How would, that interaction be like? Would they fight back? Would they not fight back? Are they too shy? Are they very violent? Or, whatever, like what would their interactions be? What were their mannerisms be, in that situation? And not just like how you would react, how would they react? And how you think other people would think that they would react. It's a lot. It's really a lot to think about. Because you can't just think about it from yourself. That's what I learned that the hard way, and from what my professors have taught me, and what I have learned from other people that have given me advice about writing and about storytelling. um that's just what I've learned. You have to come at it from different angles. You can't just come at it from one angle. So, and that's how it is. And if I can get that for somebody to understand that, and somebody to realize that, then that's good. Because like, it's and some people are just natural born writers, like how we talked about earlier. Some people are just natural born writers, and to put that into a visual context, or to put that on screen, is also difficult. Because a lot of the times when you're writing, it could sound so good, it could sound so great, but to put that into a put it on screen, sometimes it's more difficult, because it's easy to write on paper, but it's also like, you can do it as well on screen, but sometimes it may not look right. Like, for instance, sometimes, like, when you're writing and you want the door to open and somebody comes out, you're like, okay, so you put that on screen, right? You film it, you record it, and then you look at it and you're like, okay, well, that's not what I was going for when I wrote it, or when I thought about it in my head. And that's you're gonna get that all the time when you're shooting, when you're shooting your short film, when you're shooting your films. Like, you're gonna get that all the time, and you're gonna have to make adjustments. There's no like, oh, you're not gonna have to make. You're gonna have to make adjustments. That's just how it is. Sometimes it may look good, it may look great, but most of the time you're gonna have to switch it around, change it around, in order to fit it to where it looks natural and it doesn't look crazy, unless that's what the look that you're going for. But you have to make it look natural and make it flow very well. And it's difficult when you're first starting out. So that's I don't want people to think that, oh, you shouldn't come. Like, if you want to go into this, it's fine. But it's just like, just know that it's not easy. it's not it's not as simple as, you know, you may watch certain YouTubers, or you may watch certain people that you look up to, and they make it look easy, but it's not. It's really not. You don't see like the work that's carefully crafted into what you see, because what you see is a natural flow. What you see is natural, and it looks like, you don't see the cuts, you don't see the skips, you don't see nothing like that. But it's all that takes time. All that takes, it's not just a matter of boom, bam, bam, okay, boom, we're putting it out there, we're uploading it, and then people see it. That's not how it is, unfortunately. I wish it was, but if it was, I feel like the stories that we do have nowadays, the films that we do have nowadays, they wouldn't be as great as they are. And, we wouldn't be like, there wouldn't be that much inspiring filmmakers, because, like, oh, it's like super easy. Anybody can do it. It's not. Nobody can just up and then make a film. I mean, you can, but it's probably not going to be really good. Not going to be good at all. I can tell you that. Uh, it takes time. It takes practice. It takes, uh, you actually focusing in, locking in into what you want to write and what you want to portray. So it's not just a day, like a couple of days. It's gonna probably take you like I mean, some people can write in a day if you're really good. Like how we say, good writers, like established writers and established directors, they could probably knock out a script in a couple days. But that's because what we talked about. There's been practice. There's been, stuff that they went through already, that has factored that into, like, okay, we can knock this out in, a couple of days. We can knock this out in a week, and I'll have a full script out. For a feature film, knock out a whole script within a couple of days. That's crazy. Like, you know how many pages that is? Like, just think of, like, for a short film, I say for a short film that's like 10 minutes, you'll probably have like 10 to 12, maybe 15 pages of like dialogue in your script. To knock out a feature film in a week, like, how many pages that is. Like, it's crazy to even think about, but that's something that you should think about if that's something that you want to do. um but it's not just knocking out the script and not just writing out the script. You have to make sure that the script is good. You have to make sure that the script is flows well. You have to make sure that the dialogue as well that matches the situation, matches the overall mood and tone of what you want to put out. It's not just a matter of okay, write. Yeah, you can write all day, but if your script is like bad, like there's no reason to write. I mean, hey, like go write. I say continue writing, even just go and do it, but read over it. Like understand what you're writing, understand you know what you're putting out there and what people could see from what you are writing. Yeah, I'm not saying like don't write, write till your fingers fall off, but just make sure that you understand that your story is being told well and that you understand your own story, because most of the time some people don't even understand their own story that they're trying to write. You know, they just go into this place and in this mode and just write all day, but you have to make sure just stay focused on the message, like how we talked about. Stay focused on your message, and I think you should be fine. So we also want to grab the audience attention very quickly. Why? Some studies that we've found out is that like if you don't grab these people's attention super quickly, they're gonna be zoned out in your whole thing, like how we talked about. They're gonna be zoned out. If you don't grab them like bam, instant something like people are gonna stop paying attention. People are gonna be like, okay, when is something gonna happen? You know. So usually just go out and in the beginning, make something happen, and people are gonna be interested. Whether that's, let's say a drama or something happening. Somebody dies, boom, instantly. First scene, somebody's parents die. Somebody mom's dad died or whatever. That catches somebody's attention, and somebody can probably relate to that as well. You know, you also have to think about it as relating to somebody. I was before doing this topic, I was listening to some interviews from my favorite director, WesCraven. It's somebody that I really wanted to meet, man. Like somebody I wanted to meet and like get into his mind just a little bit, man. Because I really love his storytelling, how he comes up with his films and comes up with his just everything, man. And like sadly, he passed away in 2015 when I was in high school, and I was so sad. I was like, man, I just really wanted to meet him to get like a couple of words and like how his understanding on how his writing process is, like how his process is in general. Like that's just somebody that I wanted to meet. But also too, he also said that you have to, from the message that you're trying to portray, and in one of the interviews that I was listening to, the message that you're trying to portray to your audience, you have to make sure that it's also relatable too at the same time, just like how we spoke about. Make sure that it's relatable and be like, oh, like that happened to me, so I'm gonna like listen to this or I'm going to watch this because I can also feel the same way from that. And that's something that I took from that, because if you get your message out there to relatable to other people, that just makes him that more people are going to watch it, because that also happened to them as well. So just make sure that you get your audience the attention quickly. Is plays a major factor. You see it in social media. You see it on YouTube, Instagram, or whatever. Something grabs your attention really quick and makes you stay for a little bit. It makes you stay like, okay, bam, I'm here. What's going on? So that's how you want your audience to react. You want your audience to get interested in what you want to talk about and what you feel and what you want to put out to them and the message you're trying to portray to them as well. So that's very, very important. Very, very, very important. And also, you have to know your characters. Like how we talk, you have to know what they what they've been through. Now, it's not just, hey, like they're born today. You have to think about like, let's say if they're 40. How many experiences has someone being 40 have gone through their entire life? Have they gone through heartbreak? Have they gone through a death in the family? Have they gone through financial struggles? Have they gone through this and that? Like it's just something that you have to think about. It's not just boom, they're just born 40 and then like, oh, here I am. You know, it's just you have to think about their past life and how they grew, or how did they grow up? Did they grow up in the suburbs? Did they grow up here? Did they grow up this? Have they gone through this? It's just something that you have to know and something that you have to figure out, because it's not just a matter of like, boom, this character's like this and then that's it. Like, no, you can also have your characters change as well. You can have your characters, if they're mad or they're angry at the world, you at the end maybe they're less angry at the world. You can't just like you can have your characters stay the same, but it's just you have to put that all into play, and people think that it's just easy to put in a character in this situation, and it's not. You have to think about, like how we talked about, their mannerisms, their actions, how they would speak to people that that they had never interacted with. Like how would you speak to someone that you never met? How would you speak to someone that you never had any experiences with? Would you treat them nice? Would you treat them not as nice? Would you be rude to them? Would you be nice to them? Like, it's just so many things that go into a story, uh, that you have to figure out in your own mind, and you have to go to that place. Because I remember when I was first writing my first script ever in my entire life, one of my professors, he told me something that I would like never forget, and it's just like, he was like, Timothy, you are writing from your own perspective. You are writing from what you would say in that situation. You can't write from what you would write. You have to write from what this person that you came up with, how would they react in that situation? How would they uh, speak in that situation? How would they, you know, go about it, in that situation? So it's that's why saying what I'm saying is, like, when you first start writing, you come at it from your own perspective and maybe from your own past life experiences. And that's something that we can't really do. You can do it in some situations, but most of the time you have to think about the audience. You have to think about how other people will see your message and how other people will see your film. So just know your characters, know and also casting. Like when you begin to make your characters, let's say you already created your characters, your characters are done, right? And you begin casting, which is basically, you choose whoever, whatever actors or actresses that you want in your film. And you go through, maybe you'll get some people coming in, they want to audition. You hold auditions for your short film or your feature film or whatever, commercial, whatever you want to do. You have to make sure that that person like fits that character. That person fits, has kind of like the same mannerisms that you were thinking about, or the same like dialogue, how you were talking about. It's not too forced. It's not too like uh yeah, not too forced. Make sure it comes natural is the word I was looking for. Make sure that they're naturally like that character, because if you pick somebody that's just forcing it all the time, it's going to be more difficult. You can make it work, but and if that's like, you're not going to get the I say you're really not going to get the perfect person all the time. You're not. But as close as you can get, I say go with that. Because if you get somebody and it's just like they're just forcing it and forcing it and forcing it, and it's like it's gonna show that on screen. It's gonna show that on camera, and you don't want that to be on camera. You want to make sure that everything you have flows well, has a natural look to it, natural flow, like how we talked about. Just making sure that everything stays natural, everything stays looking good. Because if it's forced, that it's just gonna make the whole film look bad. And just on that part, like, your other characters could also be fine, but also your main lead or your main role, you want to make sure that that's perfect, that that's spot on, or as close as you can get that. because that's who's gonna be in your film the longest. That's who's gonna be like the face of your film, the main point. So you want to make sure that that person is like making sure that they know their lines, that they don't have trouble knowing their lines, because that's also another thing. Oh man, woo, just hitting the iceberg really. Making sure that they know that they show up knowing their lines, because most of the time people show up and they don't know nothing. So you have to also get background on these actors and be like, hey, do they have a history of not remembering their lines? Do they have a history of like, okay, what's going on with um anything really? So it's just a matter of like knowing the people that you're working with, knowing the people that's going to be put in your story, because these people are going to be put into the story that you create. So just keeping that into check and keeping that into perspective, that's a main thing that I would say to keep an eye on, to factor that in as well. All these are factors really. All these are main points into creating a great story. And sometimes you may have a good idea for a story, a great idea for a story, and then you put it out there and you've done it to the best of your ability, but maybe it doesn't portray it as you want it to be, or it doesn't portray like how you thought about it in your head. But I say just keep on continuing to create, and sooner or later, it's gonna come naturally. It's gonna come like a good form to you. It just takes time. That's all it does. I mean, just with anything, it takes time, takes practice. Most of the time, people say that that's not a thing, but in in this business, I say it is. Uh, Practice makes perfect. That's the line. That's the words. So in this career path, I would say yes, that practice does make perfect. Um, because nobody's perfect, right? Uh, I mean, we try to be. We try to, in your work, you try to be perfect. You try to making sure that everything's right to the best of your ability. So, um, knowing your characters right. So that's a main thing, because that's who the audience is gonna see on the screen, right? And usually, um, when a great film comes out, right? Good storytelling, good acting, good visuals, editing, very important. Um, Most of the time, like the actors are really credited to the performance, because they are. That's that they did perform, you know, in that film. But really, the directors or the actors, I mean, the directors and the like crew audio, editing, lighting, writers, they're not as credited. Why? I don't say from a professional standpoint. I say from the audience members, the audience that are viewing it, because what are they seeing on screen? They're seeing your actors, they're seeing your characters that you created. Uh, so they're seeing that on the screen. They're also seeing the editing too, but their eye doesn't catch it as much as we do. You know, if we're sitting there watching a film and you're an editor, or if you worked on a short film, or if you worked in the industry, you can catch every little cut, every little line. As my eyes have been trained to catch everything. So I can't really watch a film because I point out when I'm watching it with like the family or friends, I point out all the like errors and the mistakes. So they don't like to watch films with me at all. But uh but that's just how I am. So I like to point out everything. I like to point out like mistakes and errors, but that's just how it is. But um the normal people, normal eye won't catch those certain type of things. Like if you're trained to catch it and everything, then you'll be able to catch it. But if you're just watching a movie just to watch a movie, then you probably won't catch it. But just making sure that these characters are they're also important, very important. They're important to you, they're important to the story. And you want to make sure that they are the way that you want them to be put out, making sure that, they act uh to how you want them to act, because I've worked with actors that, I tell them one thing and then I don't have to tell them anything else. Like they're just, they're that good. And there's some actors that you're gonna have to, it's a little bit more you have to put it a little bit more work and be like, hey, okay, I want you over here, I want you to do this, do it this way. Most of the time, everybody that I've worked with has been great. I don't think I've had any problems with any actors that I've worked with. But I'm not saying from my experiences, but from what other people have told me. It's just sometimes you have to, get them in that mindset. And sometimes too, they may have like, I don't say stage fright, but, little nerves, when they first come in and, they're going to be nervous, they're going to be acting, you can tell it right away, because that's something that we can catch like from instant from the beginning. So you just tell them, hey, relax, get into, you know, sometimes they have to get into character, they'll go away and they'll do like their little breathing techniques or whatever. And it's just something that you catch on, like when you're working with other people, you're working with different actors. So they'll do whatever they have to do, and they'll come back and then they'll be ready. So just knowing like that type of stuff and that type of those structures, and I think you'll be good. And then to end off, we're going to talk about a memorable ending, something that your audience will always remember uh, your film ending on, like, hey, like I remembered, whatever this happened, cliffhanger. Most of the times people remember cliffhangers because they're mad. They don't want it to be a cliffhanger. They want their story to be wrapped up like in a little tortilla, then wrapped up and then that's it and get ready to go. But most of the time, directors, they want to end off on how you would understand the ending, so, and not like little like wrapped up and be okay. But it's it's really on whoever what the director wants to do. If he wants to wrap it up nice, a little bow on it, and be like, okay, here you go, there's the ending. Or if he doesn't want to do that, or if she doesn't want to do that, um you can do that as well. So it's just really a matter of how you want to end it. And how I would take it, from perspectively, how I would take it, you would want to make it like something like how we talked about, relatable, something that can be something that would be able, everybody that can like recognize with, can relate to, death. Usually most of the times it's death, death in the family, somebody gets sick, that's I just want you, if you never been uh paying attention to movies or film, just go watch like a couple, let's say three or four, like in the same genre, and see what the main uh kind of like messages, just see, just find a pattern, really. I guess I could say just find a pattern into what um happens, and then come back and talk to me. Because usually most of the time you'll find some type of pattern, you'll find some type of stuff that stays the same. And there's a reason why people do that. There's a reason why it's like that, is because relatable, people can relate to stuff like that. So just look at that type of stuff and see um what you can see from that, because it's very common, and people use it very often. And so again, to to end it, I would do it something like that, something relatable, something, because people would really understand that, and people can really get that, and they would get the message, obviously, because they've gone through that. um So I would do it something like that, something that would be relatable to everybody, experiences, whatever. You kind of have to pull at the heartstrings a little bit, as how they say, um, in order for people to get the attention of your audience, like how we talked about in the beginning. So I think that's gonna wrap up this episode of Film Points Podcast. Again, I appreciate everyone coming in and checking out all our episodes. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it here. And again, our Instagram is at Film Points Podcast on Instagram. So if you guys want to check that out, again, thank you so much. We can, if you want to give advice, if you want to come on the show, if you want to give us any tips, tell us who you want to see on the show, or send this podcast, this episode to any of your friends and family. Thank you. That would be great. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It would really help the show if you guys can download the episodes, share the episodes with your friends and family. Again, anybody that's interested in this topic, anyone that's or any people that are in the industry and just want to listen to a film podcast. Again, thank you. That would be greatly appreciated. Our production page is Film Points Official. Any projects that we have going on, we'll let you guys know. You guys can follow me as well at timothy.montes on Instagram. Shoot me a DM on advice on filmmaking. Anything you guys want to see on the show, any topics that you guys want to be talked about, just let us know there. And make sure to, we also have our YouTube channel. If you guys can subscribe down below, give this episode a like and watch our previous episodes, because this is episode number 8, I believe. So we got 7 episodes that we already done in the past. So if you guys want to go back and pause this video and watch our other podcast first, from 1 to 7, and then come back and watch this one, that'd also be great. So thank you guys so much again, and we really do appreciate each and every one of you that subscribe to our channel, that have watched our videos, that has given us advice along the way. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.